Okay. Hi. Thanks for
Hello.
taking the time to talk with me today. Can you start off by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Rachel Wells, and I am a pediatric SLP. I work at Thomas Metcalf Lab School at Illinois State University, and I work with the pre-K through 8th grade populations. I do a lot of my work in a preschool program for kids with hearing impairments. We have a listening and spoken language preschool for kids who are using a listening and spoken language approach, and then we also have a total communication preschool, so kids who are using total communication, so sign and verbal speech. And then I also work with a variety of older children, some with hearing impairment, some without, but I see kids with different speech sound disorders and then lots of language disorders as well.
All right. So how did you find out about my website and about the Language Therapy Advanced program?
Facebook, actually. So just different people had shared things and commented on things, so Facebook.
All right. So when you decided to join the program, what were you struggling with and what kinds of things were you frustrated with during your job?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say the first, or maybe the two biggest things would be just finding some sort of systematic way to target language impairments or to target increasing language skills in children with language impairments in a way that was more organized and not just kind of grabbing at random, things from session to session, but a way that would build upon skills that were targeted, session to session. And then also, which goes hand in hand with that, but just decreasing my own plan time and the amount of work that I take home and have to organize outside of my school hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So what would that be like, just on a weekly basis when you had to take all that work home or when you felt like you were, kind of jumping around? What was that like for you?
I'd say stressful because you don't always feel like you're doing the best job that you could be, and that there should be a better way. I feel like I'm not an idiot, I think, anyone who's in this profession probably isn't, but sometimes when you're just pulling at random things, you feel disorganized, and I don't like to feel disorganized.
So in the program, have you experienced any results or breakthroughs relating to those frustrations?
I've had some really good takeaways, I would say, and one of those being you talk about the essential five, and one thing that really jumped out at me was thinking about using those principles and thinking about the essential five not just with the students but thinking about them with myself. And so it's kind of like thinking about your own planning skills and organization in kind of a therapeutic way. So almost like you're doing therapy on yourself with some of these principles, but that has been something that has really jumped out at me.
So what kinds of things have you noticed with your students since you've been using some of these techniques from the program?
Sure. I think I go into sessions just with it's not complicated, any of the things that you've discussed in the program, but I think my brain is a little more organized, and I'm using more consistent language. So, for example, I think, hopefully I described this well, but one of the things you talk about is just the simple concept of vocabulary, and it being more than just knowing what a word is, but knowing what the word is, what the meaning is, how to use that word, but starting with the phrase, like if you're defining a book is a blank that does blank. Did I say that the right way that you do?
Yeah, with just the syntax and the sentence structure.
Yes. So that really easy way of describing to a student how to define words and then how to use it in a sentence. It's really easy. So that's been really helpful.
So of all the things in the program, just the features, what would you say is the most valuable part of it?
So far as features, do you mean like the actual physical program itself?
Yeah, as far as the
Well,
online
the
programs,
website,
the live Q&As, the Facebook group.
got it. I haven't been a part of the live Q&As only because just frankly the time hasn't worked for me. One of the times did work, so I was trying to jump on and then I had technical difficulties, go figure. But I did watch them after the fact, which is helpful, and then reading through the transcript of people's questions in the comments. So it's helpful to see, oh, hey, someone else is thinking the same thing I am. And it kind of helps you feel validated and like your questions or thoughts aren't too simple or stupid. Other people are thinking the same things, even as adults who have been practicing for, some of us, almost 10 years, like me, or even longer. There's still always things to learn. So that's encouraging. And then, as far as the actual website for the program, it's super easy to navigate. And I've been really impressed with that. Clicking on the different modules and just running them is very easy. And then if you need to go back in the same module and hear something again, or the same lesson, sorry if I'm not using the terminology the right way, but just within that lesson, you can, navigate on your screen and move back and forward and just re-listen to something, screenshot something that you want to save for later. The downloads are really easy, like the planning. There's one where it's talking about keeping a running list of your activities, like therapy materials and what you would use it for. That's really convenient. So keeping a little notebook or binder of that planning sheet in my office has been really helpful as well.
So compared to other types of professional development and courses, what would you say is different about this compared to the traditional model that we're used to?
I can access this anytime from anywhere. That's really nice. I can complete the modules on my time. I can go back and listen to them again if I have a question in a certain area. I also, and maybe this goes back with the other question that you asked, I like that they're very short. So, there's some that are like 7 minutes long. So I can just listen to a little snippet in the middle of my day or in the evening. It's super easy. I could even, if I wanted to, multitask. I can play it in the background while I'm making dinner. It really fits into your busy lifestyle very simply. So that's awesome.
Excellent. So would you recommend this course to other SLPs? And if so, why?
Yes, I would definitely recommend this to other SLPs. And honestly, and I don't know if it's something that will be marketed to people who are not SLPs, but I think that it would absolutely be appropriate for other people who are not SLPs either. The people in particular that jump into my mind are some of the teachers of the deaf that I work with. Their caseloads are, huge with kiddos who really need to increase their language skills. So I think some of the techniques that you discuss would be absolutely appropriate for that population as well. Why would I recommend it? Kind of like I already said, where it just fits into your busy lifestyle. You can access it from everywhere at any time. Also, the information is presented in small, easy to digest kind of tidbits, where each topic is covered in a couple minutes. You can listen to one topic and then come back to it the next day or the next week even, and listen to another one. And the topics all have something that you can take away and use that day or the next day with your students. So I feel like it's applicable to the real world.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that you'd want to share? If there was somebody who was on the fence about whether or not they wanted to join, what would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, get off the fence and just do it. It's easy to understand. Sometimes I think the concept of language therapy, I know you talk about in one of your modules, it's so broad and so overwhelming. And that when you even hear the title of the course, Language Therapy Advanced, you're like, what? It's going to be so huge and scary, and language therapy, there's so much. But you break everything down for us into very simple steps where it's not overwhelming at all. And you're like, wow, language therapy really isn't that complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot more sense to think about things in these systematic, small ways, in these small steps, that it's not overwhelming, and it's, like I keep saying, applicable to the real world. You can use things right away. And I feel like I've been to a lot of in-person and then some online continuing ed courses that I feel like I'm just doing it to get the hours,
Mm-hmm.
and like jumping through the hoops for ASHA, or doing whatever I need to do just to check it off the list and get things done. I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but it's true. I think we've all done things. But I feel like with this, and I actually was having this conversation with my husband about this program, that it is things that I can use. Really, it's not like I'm just doing it to cross another requirement off of my list. It's actually useful for life and for my work every day. So it's a good value, both of my money and of my time, which we all know is valuable.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all your input. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share about the program?
No, I mean, I think I've said everything that I've been thinking. I just, actually, there's one more aside that just came to my mind. I really appreciated the speed at which the audio, or your voice, the way you were speaking, was given. It was a nice, slow, steady speaking rate that was easy to listen to and easy to process. And sometimes I feel like, especially when things are, technical in nature, a fast speaking rate is more easy to tune out. You stop listening. Whereas when you're speaking more slowly, we're really thinking about what we're hearing and able to digest it. So I think even just small things like that in your program, which it's really not a small thing, but that's not content related, that's delivery related. But I think that is just as important as the content, the way that it's delivered. And so thanks for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing that. Well, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me and share about the program.
Absolutely. Thank you for creating it.
You're welcome.